Hi, I am Aaron, and welcome to this TED Talk. Today I'm gonna talk about the cartels and the narco. And the title of this TED Talk is "The Cartels Do Not Exist." Well, let's start. As you know, in this life it has to do with money, and something very interesting about, without a doubt, is the first entry of money into Mexico. Even though they say data of the GPD and all that, we all know that number one is the drug trafficker. So I gave myself the task of investigating everything related to drug trafficking, and I came across to this book called Cartels Do Not Exist. This is a very strong book despite the fact that it is writing in a very correct way because it questioned the entire drug culture. You see the Buchona people who love, and not only love, but adore the drug culture. But that is what is the drug culture but another construction created by political hegemony. The author makes a reflection that it is convenient for government that people are fans of drug culture. And I mean, the book begins by a journey through the midst of the drug trafficking. In one hand, musical groups have to do narcocorridos in order to be musically successful. In other, writers have to talk about the narco to be able to have literally success. All this gives rise to 100 legends about the narcos, but a narco has no credential or resume, but they have legends that are backed by science fiction novels combined with a little bit of realism, so that with the passing over the years, a whole mythology has been formed about the drug culture. So when a real event happens, the reference of the people and of the ministerial policy are the Queen of the South or the last Correo that came out. That will be like analyzing historical facts of Mexico based on the idea that everything works the same as in an anime, or like it has no scenes. That means if your reference about what a cartel is based on the soap operas you see on Netflix, then you don't know even the 10% of how the cartel works, and so on. This is how the book begins, commenting on something that, for some reasons, we had forgotten. From there, it sends us to think about the drug trafficker from another point of view. If you want to understand the drug trafficker, you should not ignore the political dimension of this talk, but of this talking about the drug phenomenon without considering not participation but total of the government, it is already a mistake that makes it impossible for you to create a true and objective critical analysis of the current situation. In other words, the narco cannot be without the government. And unlike what is thought, the government can kill the narco simply by using the SAT as an instrument. And with this instrument, they can know who it is and when and where it is. Because the SAT are like the system of paying taxes in Mexico. Everything, everything that you buy, you pay taxes, and with using this as an instrument, the government can realize who is and who is not the details. The detail is that this information is known in advance by the government, but then in the news they come out to show that the whole issue is good versus bad without turning around to see economic interest. To understand all this, you have to go back to the 40s after the Second World War. Here originates what is known as the New World Order. If you want to do a conspiracy investigation in which you will try to find the group that controls all the world, it is surely here and without so much conspiracy because you make things like the Federal Reserve a fact that we already know how many bills print the implementation of what we know today as neoliberalism. That is nothing more than favors that the state does to a close-up group of businessmen, what makes free competition impossible. We could say that it is the foundation of what in the culture of what in the future we will be known as the government. To see their poster, which is among other things the constant search of criminal groups to justify intervention the intervention military, we could say that everything resolves around the sale that we could say is the most lucrative business of all time. And these criminals group and these criminal groups, in other words, the criminal groups that are spoken of are partly the creation of political hegemony. It is from here that sale of arms and the search of population control are armed. You kill two birds with one stone, and from there even comes by a product that will be bribery until now. That will be bribery. Until now, it seems that there is no relationship with drug trafficking, but it it is that until we are talking about the origin and after that we went to Mexico. Here what is important and something that the book highlights on more than one occasion is that all the mythology created by musical and novel creates a perfect environment for the population to continue to be decided among them several journalists. In fact, the author makes a particular mention of the writer Anabel Hernandez, who made a construction about what El Chapo was. Here, the interesting thing about the matters is that Annabel ends up realizing a new book called El Traidor that she herself ends with a construction, the traitor without a doubt, with page completely with the speech of this book because it completely changed what a Mexican cartel were. Until now, you had been told that the state was incapable of fighting any cartel, and that even the one in Sinaloa has become bigger than the same country. And why make the population believe that it's very easy to keep security it's very easy to keep police active and for you to continue thinking what they want. In Annabelle's book we have that there are no officials who have refused a bribe from the cartel of Sinaloa, and that these bribes are so large that in order to pay them, the Sinaloa cartel has to get to work, like selling drugs and things like that. All this creates a vicious circle because, on the one hand, the government tells you that they cannot battle with such a powerful cartel, and on the other, the cartel he is scared to death and looking to pay the bribes that the government in which they find themselves ask him and looking to pay the bribes that the government in which they find themselves ask him. All the time the effect and the remedy are the same subject the same government job, only without legal benefits or insurance. They exist because it is convenient for the government to exist. There is a ridiculous amount of money that enters the pocket of officials and sales of arms. In reality, there is world order sovereignty that we call political hegemony is the business plan and security against all, and behind all there is a small group that prints bills that are actually worthless, and embankments are you talking about world control that is exercised to convince us all that the earth is round but can even the control their credit cards. The buchon that shoots up things thinks he's the most bad of all and be the most subservient of all. This book is incredibly became because it gives you a large number of examples that prove his speech, and best of all is that combines perfectly with other speeches that although they are not so popular, we could say that they are more about what there is, and if we try to find a solution to all of this, maybe we could find it in another book with an author named Edgardo Buscalija. Power vacuums in Mexico, the state itself creates its own framework and it purges itself. It's like throwing a spoiled champurrado and when having an Alka Seltzer with some very cool ice cubes and then saying what who knows why they got sick. All the talk about cartels not exist does not deny that all the fact that there are groups of criminals out there who are willing to let it be in order to get a little money. But at least the perception that exists about the cartel as cartels is not how they painted it. Myth number one says that the government cannot fight with the cartel and it is too powerful due to the many weapons the narcos can get. They simply do not have the same budget or the technology as a complete government. A cartel does not take over a state, the state takes over the cartel. They are different things that the government square, not the cartel myth. The cartel myth number the capos are genius. They are painted as some genius, but many times there are bosses who don't even have complete primary school. They don't know how to read or write, much less form a cartel. Myth number three: the government has nothing to do with it. Is more than proof the cartel. It is not possible otherwise. A government is, as I said, a circle without a doubt, a bonanza for those who control the squares. This book completely changed my perception of what drug trafficking is in Mexico, and in general, any construction about terrorists or enemy nation, because it is more or less the same that we have in Mexico. Like the cartels is something like the terrorists. Well, I'm leaving because I am seeing a little gray and I'm very sick, so you can hear in my voice. So thanks for listening my TED talk. I hope you like it and you learn a little more of our story in Mexico. And do not think all the Mexico's cartel and drugs and shooting. You only can stay with the good parts in Mexico, but like all the countries, we have our bad things. So don't worry about it. We can take this if we change the government and our minds. So goodbye. I hope you like it. We see in another TED Talk.